Now the first pad split that we did, if you think about it this way, in the same way that Uber did not make ride sharing and carpooling new, it created the technology for all of us to easily use it, right? We talked about this on Friday. Airbnb did not make vacation rentals new, but it created technology and an app that made us all open to staying in an Airbnb. Padsplit, in the same way, is a technology platform that makes boarding houses viable. And so when I take an Airbnb that I was renting for night and weekly rentals, I sign a lease with Padsplit, then they start running ads, and they rent out each room by the week, just like a boarding house. And then my residents share the bathroom and the kitchen as common area. Now let me show you some comparable numbers, just so you can see what a difference it's been. Now here's I love Airbnb if you're in a non-saturated area. If you are thinking of doing an Airbnb, go to AirDNA. And pay for a little subscription from them. Create a login, because they can let you specifically research a neighborhood. So like I have an Airbnb at 2112 3rd Street in Idaho Falls. And I can look at the Idaho Falls market, but I can look at the actual street with a login. I don't have a login right now to it. And then you can see behind there, it shows how is this market performing. It gives you a market score. Average daily rate is $297. I'm averaging like $225 for mine. Is it really? Okay, well then there you go. So then, you see how they've broken down the market? Let's see if it'll give me any limited access, because I know I had one at one point. I'm just not researching any AirDNAs right now.
They went up the price a lot, right?
What's that?
For AirDNA?
I haven't used a paid account in several years, because I haven't done any new Airbnbs for me. Let's just see what kind of limited access they have. Okay. Oh, here it is, Idaho Falls. Okay, interesting. So this is good, because how is this market performing? 57. I would totally agree with that. I'm actually thinking of un-Airbnb-ing my 4-bedroom house here in Idaho Falls, because after my manager and utilities and expenses, I'm only averaging like maybe $2,000 on a good month. And I could rent it out to a 12-month tenant that pays their own tax, easily for $1,800. So I'm just not making enough. And yeah, see, okay, so they want you to pay to get the average daily rate. But as someone who owns an Airbnb here, I would 100% agree this market's too saturated. And I was finding that to be the case in Indianapolis. So if you're thinking about an Airbnb, it's worth it to pay to get this data on wherever you're thinking about getting an Airbnb. Yeah.
What are you using to analyze rents?
For Airbnbs? No. Or for Padsplit?
Apartments, Padsplits.
So for just regular rentals, Zillow is great for rents, but not for property values. I love Zillow rent estimates are fantastic. Very, very. They usually hit right in that range for us. And then I always like to switch Zillow to show not properties for sale or sold properties, just properties for rent, because then you can get a really good idea. So let's look on Zillow and say, all right, well, I know that my Airbnb sucks right now and I'm only averaging $2,000 a month. Let's look at and see what I should be getting here in Idaho Falls for 12 months. So I'll switch this. Now what's crazy, I bought it for $75,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's worth, my basis is probably 125. But then what I'll do is I'll go in to this neighborhood. Wait. Where am I? Here we go. Third's right here. Okay, so these number streets are all, these homes, same, these would all be comps for my home. Oh, 300,000. That's 3.2 on 383rd. I'm 212 that they have listed for 299. That's probably, so I'd say market value of my home is probably 275 to 300. So Zillow's pretty close. But if you switch it to for rent, 1,700, 1,300. I'm averaging about 1,800. Let's see what 1,700 is.
So those are actual listings.
For rent right now.
They're looking for renters.
Yeah, these are available rental right now, comps. So yeah, I think I could get, I'm getting 1,800 as an Airbnb. I could almost get that with a lot less headache, just 12-month lease.
Do they have commercial rentals, like a commercial space?
On Zillow? Yeah. No, but you could get that on LoopNet.
I do the same thing.
Yep. Yeah, Crexi or LoopNet. Crexi, Crexi. Crexi or LoopNet, you could get that real easy. Yeah. Yeah. But you can see why, since so I'm thinking about undo it. Now, here's what's really interesting. If I go to Padsplit, though, so I have a 1, 2, 3, 4 bedroom. My house is 4 bedroom on Airbnb, making about $1,800 a month. But if I turn it into a Padsplit, I could get $175 per week per room. So what's 175 times 4? 700 times 52 weeks divided by 12 months. So we can do monthly apples to apples.
That's just 2,800 a month times your occupancy. 700 per week times 4.
So that's $3,000 a month. Gross, but then I got about a 40% expense coverage for it to be apples to apples to an $1,800 a month tenant. Because Padsplit takes 8%. Local management's 10. Because Padsplit will lease it and collect the rent from them, but they don't do the landscaping, they don't do snow removal, they don't pay the utilities, they don't pay the Wi-Fi, they don't do the common area cleanings. They don't do anything. Okay? But I like paying them that 8% because for an Airbnb, I'm paying 30% of the gross. 25 to 30% is standard for vacation rental. Yep.
In terms of vetting the tenants for Padsplit, they do the background check and all.
They do it.
Tax numbers.
And what's even better is they do the marketing. Yep. Yeah, they market and they pull the tenants in and they educate them on it and then they throw them together. Yep.
Don't they take like the first 10 days of
First 10 days,
or something like that?
But
It was hard to know.
Yeah, of a leasing commission?
It's 100% of the first.
Yeah, but standard leasing commissions half to 1 month's rent.
they used to take a higher percent.
For, like what's that?
Before they did the 10%, or the first 10 days, they took a higher percent, like 15%
Mm-hmm.
of the whole time they were there. Now they take the first 10 days and they take 8%.
So 1,800 after 40% expenses, it's kind of a wash. Whether I Padsplit, Airbnb, or lease it out. So I'm leaning towards just putting a 12-month tenant in that house. Does that make sense? Because it's why deal with that? Why deal with the hassle of a pad split, or definitely an Airbnb when I'm within about $100 to $150? Same difference. Yeah.
But have you not looked into converting some of the common spaces? That's what in the Atlanta area, they're converting the common
Yes.
spaces into rooms to increase, like take a 4-3 and make
Yeah.
it an 8-3.
So I could, and I have a living room that I could make a 5th bedroom, and that would be interesting because then I'm because then I'm.
Because that's what in Atlanta, the agent that I'm working with, that's what a lot of people in the Atlanta market are doing. They're taking a 4-3 or a 5-3, converting living room space, den space, basements
Garage space.
into rooms. And you have to follow the local regulations, egress,
Yep.
windows.
Yeah.
But so like the two that I'm under contract on now, one's an 8-2, one's a 10-3.
Yeah, so that'd be $22.75.
Buying a pad split.
I'm under contract right now on two.
So my problem though is the one thing I found with a long-term tenant, as long as there's something for park, I have street and I have rear lot parking. The one thing you want to be careful is with a vacation rental, you don't need parking because at most they rent one car, right? But with a pad split, you need to make sure that there's parking for every single room.
I'm finding a lot of ours have, they use the bus, they use Uber, they don't have cars.
Yeah.
So this is what the agent told me is
Only like a third of them,
proximity or parking spaces and proximity to public transportation.
What market is it?
Dallas, Texas, Richardson.
Yeah, and see in Indiana, I've done better in pad splits in a B plus. I won't do one in less than a B plus neighborhood because what I find is I'll get a really good tenant that's like divorced dad. I can't afford to live in this neighborhood in a 1-bedroom because it's $1,800 a month, but I can rent a room for $800 a month in this A neighborhood. But if it was in a C neighborhood, because they're like, yeah, I could go rent a studio in a C neighborhood, but I don't want to live there.
So the kids get to stay in that school.
But then you don't have I don't have the public transportation access in those nicer neighborhoods. So that's one thing I haven't mapped out yet is, it was really tough doing any Airbnbs in a C neighborhood. And I don't know if I like pad split in a C neighborhood. I haven't done any.
The two I have are C neighborhoods.
Okay.
But they've been functioning already for at least the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the margins that I've looked at so far are still fairly positive.
Yeah.
I mean, again, different class of tenant, true, but then the public transportation becomes a bigger issue. So, and the problem is, at least in the Atlanta market, anything within the city limits, the price point's just too high to make it viable.
Yeah.
There are some. So right now, most of them are kind of Perry-Atlanta, South Atlanta area, which is where I've been looking. And the ones that he's brought me so far, the 4 that he's brought me, the agents, they're all in the South Atlanta area.
Yeah, so these strategic decisions are what we were doing in 2017 with Airbnb when it was new. Because remember what I said on Friday, every strategy has 20% about it that sucks. For example, I just keep thinking, what happens when you got 5 people that are thrown into one house together? What happens when one dude rapes somebody? They didn't choose to live in that same house and share the same bathroom. Or somebody assaults somebody. I like that Padsplit put them in there and I didn't. That's why, we had one of our partners that they were like, I'll just lease them all out myself. I'm like, okay, yeah, go for it. Just don't do it on any of mine. Yeah, I think that is where the marketing and the leasing. Here's the other thing that they have over and why I think we haven't had an eviction yet. If you hate your roommates, Padsplit will let you move to a different Padsplit up to twice. Or if we've had, if you're if you have 2 roommates that don't get along, they'll let somebody move. Okay, but Padsplit doesn't really have a viable competitor, and so people are scared to go through an eviction because then they're out of all Padsplits forever. So you get one eviction in a pad. So that I think has been a nice deterrent. Also, it's the lowest wear and tear I've ever had on my rentals because no kids, no smoking, no pets. One person. So you would think, wow, it's like 5 people living in your house. Yeah, I always have 5 people living in my 4-bedroom house, and 3 or 4 of them are usually kids, and then there's usually a couple dogs, and that's what destroys my houses over time. And you got one person who just sits in their room, nobody's out in the living room, or if we've eliminated the living rooms and we make them into bedrooms. That's why Padsplit doesn't want a lot of common area. They just want a common area in the kitchen. Is that one of your Padsplit guys?
That was one that was wanting to move in recently,
Show them.
and his driver's license picture didn't look anything
Thing like this, and there are 3 women living in this house, and he wanted to move in, but he was coming from another Padsplit. There wasn't a lot of information on
Yeah.
why he was moving before his 12 weeks were up. So he didn't make it into my house.
Now I think,
That would have scared the crap out of
Right?
those 3 women, and then they 3 would have left, and he would have been
Yeah.
the only one living.
now the other thing I think is interesting is if let's say you're trying to get real estate professional hours, okay? You could do a Padsplit where you live, and they source the tenants and put them in. You just tell them you're the manager. They don't even know you're the owner. So they text you if they tattle like, hey, because they're not allowed to have sleepovers. Your girlfriend can't sleep over.
they can't even come over during the day.
No guests, no parties, no guests.
Cameras?
Just overnight.
Yep. Yeah. You can have a.
Guests, period. They haven't been screened by Padsplit. You only want people in these homes that have been screened.
Oh, we let ours have guests. Just no overnights. Yeah, no sleepovers. But then they all tattle on each other. That's the other funny thing. So.
On the ground person saying, hey, they're violent.
Yeah. So they text Lincoln all the time. I saw a girl leaving this morning. They all rat each other out, which you never have that. I have Kim that tattles on everyone at the RV park. One day I went by there and she had this whole crew of guys like doing cleanup. I'm like, what is this? She's like, these guys all need community service, so we're letting them clean up here. I'm like, are we paying them? She's like, no, they needed hours.
You need to clone her.
Freaking Kim, dude. She's cleaning shit out of the garbage can yesterday. Yeah.
With Airbnb, the wave, right?
Yeah.
Some point,
Oh, yeah.
You need these cities where like we don't want them, HOAs.
Yeah.
Have you seen any indication neighborhoods are saying shit, too much traffic, parking, all this stuff? I don't know.
So we went to the city of Idaho Falls here because there is no rentals under $1,000 a month. It's really bad. And so we said, hey, we want to do a Padsplit with a manufactured home. We have a 6-bedroom manufactured home. Yep.
5 doors.
No, we looked at that originally, but here's my problem. So I looked at one. Let me show you. So this one I looked at because you basically could like string these all together and skirt them, but then you would, the floor plan, you could string forward as many as you wanted, because then they had a living room, bedroom, and then they had another version where you could string them together and it was like a studio. But then my problem is, what if I decide to un-Airbnb? Un-Padsplit. I'm literally stuck with workforce housing. So then I went to Fleetwood and I said,
and there's a minimum size of the room that Padsplit can, it has to be like 80 square feet.
yeah, these were 200.
Yeah, you can make that bigger.
Yep. So let's see. And Fleetwood makes this one, which I really like, because you got one entry, and then a hallway, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No common area. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 toilets.
Rental rate goes up.
Yep.
Is there a private bathroom?
Yep.
So are you saying off the actual Padsplit or just?
Well, but here's what I like about this. Because if you look at it from the outside, it's a regular manufactured home. Hold on, I'll tell you. Oh, wait. No. Yeah, it was just a regular house. So I found it on Legacy, and then she came back and said, we have this Dakota, Aaron. And she said, this Dakota has 2 entrances, because you have to have that for it to be HUD approved. And then you got bedroom, bedroom shared, bedroom, bedroom shared, bedroom, bedroom shared. So it's actually 6 bedrooms. Mm-hmm. 16 by 76. I buy it for about $70 a foot. And she priced it out. Here it is. My cost is $76,000 for just the home. So then, you figure everything else should be $100,000. Foundation, decks, setting, skirting. Not counting the lot, not counting utilities. So then we went to we have some land here in town where I could put like 5 of these on a lot. So we went to Idaho Falls City and said, hey, what do you think if I do 5 of these and I do nice sidewalks and flower beds and a parking lot, and then we rent them out by the room? And if you decide not to, pad split. So I said I put 5 of them, so I'll have 30 units. Because it was dirt that was zoned for apartments. And they said, as long as it looks nice, we don't care. That's fine. And so we have tentative. Then, of course, the engineers started sending me other companies' designs of like campground type cute. I'm like, no, it doesn't work, because it's got to be $76,000. Because then, what's my cost per unit? It's like my cost just to buy the building per unit is like $12, $13K a unit. If I can get $700 or $800 a month. So I think we're on a really intriguing convergence path of manufactured development in a multifamily environment where you pad split all of the units, because as long as, I swear, all the city cares is that it's cute. So they want to see drawings, renderings with cute flower beds and cute sidewalks and a nice little parking lot, and they want the aesthetic to not look like a trailer park, which that's not very hard to accomplish, depending on how you lay it out.
Does Padsplit kind of tell you, like AirDNA, like which are more city friendly?
So the cities that, an Airbnb, they don't like them because they become party houses and it's stealing affordable rentals from the locals. Yeah. But Padsplit, you're providing affordable rentals.
No, I'm saying
It's a
the
solution.